Jawn broadcast. In many cultures, if you survive 50 episodes in the octagon, with the bright lights and the throngs of adoring fans always wanting something new from you, you are considered a warrior princess. Not to brag, but this is episode 51 for us. Can we finally raise our voices a little bit and pronounce ourselves members of the warrior princess community? I won't fight you over it, as I'm no warrior, but more than once while walking down the street late at night, a loner has shouted out to me, "Hey princess, you heading to the Waffle House?" Then when I turn to face my admirer and they see my chiseled manly features, they make like an atom and split. But back to important things. 51 episodes. We couldn't be prouder. If you tuned in last week for the heartwarming bat story, you know that we've been known to pick a song or two and Lord will pick you up so much. I just hope Neil Young will remember, a southern man don't need him around anyhow. Sweet warrior princesses, we love you so much. Eat Pete's live at the Filmore East and I can't think of any Skynyrd album titles. Write in tonight and remind me of what they are called. Oh, gold and platinum, I remember. Keep on trucking. Watch us tonight for an answer to one of life's riddles.
Three little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, "Well, you better go get her." Two little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, "Wonder what's got into him." Two little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. And we're live at it again. Welcome to Jabber Jawn, everybody. I'm Nathan Moore. This is Kyle Hogg, Steve Moore, Jabber Jawn at your service. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Which one will it be this week? Welcome to the
I hope it's the one with the accordion. That would be everybody's hope, I would reckon.
What's perfect pitch on an accordion?
How did they get the name the accordion? Does that mean something in Latin or anything?
That's a good question.
I got another question.
Okay.
How does it get such a bad reputation?
That's another good question. Yeah, accordions and banjos.
Yeah, especially accordions.
They say, like, what's a perfect pitch on a banjo? Getting it in the dumpster without hitting the sides. I wanted to try the same joke on an accordion,
I've never heard anybody talk bad about who doesn't like the banjo.
Oh, really?
Like rock and roll people, or who?
Well, it can be a very loud instrument,
Okay.
and if you're not that good on it, then it can be a very disruptive.
Okay.
It's not a benign thing, but it's a great instrument. I'm with you. Haters gonna hate.
That when I found that CD, I was telling you about. I found a bunch of banjo CDs too. I got.
You got them?
Yeah.
If you played an instrument, what would you want to play? If you could play any instrument,
Oh my
one
God.
instrument that you could be amazing on, what would it be?
It had to be the guitar. That's the coolest.
Guitar?
That's the coolest one. Girls go crazy for it.
Girls go crazy. How about you, Dad? If you could play one instrument,
It would be the guitar, and it would be to attract girls, just like it was for you and him. We have that much in common.
Yeah, same. John Lennon and Bob Dylan all said the same thing. That's why they got into it to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, does the piano attract girls? Or like really nerdy girls, or what is it? What is the piano?
Nerdy girls.
Like, what does the piano attract?
Oh, here we go.
Well, the piano is the original rock star, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mozart was like the original Jim Morrison or something.
That's true. But I guess
That's probably a terrible analogy.
But I guess the guitar attracts the dirty girls, right?
Gosh, if I could play any instrument really well, that would be such a hard call. It's like Sophie's Choice.
It wouldn't be the guitar.
Piano would be a great one. Piano. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Lex.
Piano, maybe.
Because piano, you could do so many things with. It can be a piano. It can be an organ. And with the way computers work today, it could be every instrument in the world.
Yeah. If you were serious about it, it would be a piano. But like a guitar, you could just be. If y'all didn't play, I could pick up something and play it, and y'all would be impressed. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really haul my piano around with me. Even though I do haul my organ around with me.
Sound effects. Also got to get a speaker for our sound effects because I liked he can hear them in his head, but I sort of liked hearing them out of the corner of my ear before because I could then react.
Now, wait a minute. We had sound effects last week, didn't we?
Well, he just triggered a sound effect, but we can't hear it anymore. It's just in his headphones.
Oh, was that true last week too?
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's this new setup we have.
I wasn't going to watch the show because I didn't think I did a good job on that story, and I just was afraid to watch it. But I finally watched it this morning.
Oh, good.
I talked to Daniel, and he said the girls liked it, and I hadn't heard that. So if they liked it, I said it can't be too bad. So I did listen to it, and it wasn't that bad.
It was great.
It wasn't,
You ready to tell it again?
I thought it was interesting. One thing I picked up on that you picked up on was I repeated that the closed window thing.
Right.
And that was the only really technical mistake. I didn't do it well.
Right.
It's the only real mistake I made, and that was because I was making sure I covered myself.
Right. Right.
I was planning it. I wanted to make sure I'd planted it.
That's what I thought was so interesting. Is like
Yeah.
It reminded me of things I've done on stage where I planned to tell a story, and it's always the one thing I tried to make sure I didn't mess up that I messed up. Like I would tell myself repeatedly, be sure to yada yada yada, and then without fail, that was my one note was the one.
Well, I wanted to make sure I did it once, but I didn't have any worry about doing it twice. I didn't think that was a possibility, but obviously it was.
But that is like a crucial. The best version of the Bat story is going to like nail the subtle cue that the window's down or whatever. I remember the first time I heard it, like that. I'll never forget that part because in my mind the windows were down. So when you threw it out,
yeah.
I can't wait for you to tell it again. Looking forward to that.
I don't plan on telling it again.
I was surprised it was a sweet story. When you say the Bat story, I thought this year I've been hearing, I thought like, you were bit on the neck and had to get it off, like
there was rescue squads involved.
Well, and I liked it for that. I liked the Bat story because it has a happy ending.
Right.
And there aren't that many. And it also has a little romance.
It has everything.
And innocence. Right? It's all a nice story. And you don't expect that from a bat.
Right.
And you certainly don't expect me to survive that date.
Right. Ben, long time no see. Good to see you, buddy. Saul, welcome to the show. Anna Bloom.
Anna Bloom.
So, man, he watches all the time. He's like one of our biggest fans.
He's a great fan. Anna Bloom, Christiana says, that was the first time I ever heard the Bat story, and I was completely enthralled. Beautifully delivered, loved it.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Here, I'll blast out. Everyone share the show on the social medias. I'll blast away on Discord here. Live, Jabberjawn, live now. What were you talking about before we went live? Some singers your favorite?
Oh, we can't drag her under the bus.
Oh, I see.
But I do want people to write in and tell me Leonard Skynyrd album titles, since I couldn't think of any.
Album titles.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote a college paper on that whole conflict between Neil Young and Leonard Skynyrd. I forget what class it was for. Do you remember that feud in real time between Neil Young and Leonard Skynyrd?
The song?
There's a couple.
Yeah.
They sort of went back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I do. Oh, definitely. Because, you know, you had to pick a side. Being a Southern boy that liked Neil Young, that was hard.
Yeah, right.
Come down here from Canada and tell us what we're doing.
Right.
Hell no. On the other hand, he's intelligent and makes a good point.
Yep.
And we're a bunch of rednecks and we're stupid. But, you know, so there's that conflict goes
It's
back
conflict,
and forth
right.
in all of our minds.
Well, I was never a huge Skynyrd fan, but I heard that song. But I was driving to work today, and I heard what's the name of the album that song he talks about Alabama, whatever that album is. That's what I was listening to.
Sweet Home Alabama?
No, the song he wrote, he's talking really bad about Alabama.
Oh,
Alabama,
Neil Young.
Yeah, but it's like
you gotta wait on your shoulders.
Yeah, but it's not like you know, out there. It's like he's just singing this sort of, you know, like picking them apart sort of. I was like, man. So those guys were sitting at home listening to that song. They're like, man, that's that jerk talking about. So they come back at him with it.
I wonder more of that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Now, do you
Yeah,
know?
at least that was big stuff they were debating there. A lot of the stuff now is just like petty jabs at each other or whatever. Some pop stars will get into little spats in their songs. They'll like say a mean line about somebody in one of their songs, but it's more
No, when did that song
less
come
like
out?
big political divisions and more just like petty hate stuff.
Was that 60s or 70s? That, you know?
I guess late 60s, early 70s. I'm not exactly sure. There's something, I forget, Catherine and I broke it down one night. We were having a deep conversation about the whole thing and really got out the lyrics and looked at it. And there's some plausible deniability, but I can't remember in terms of the Leonard Skynyrd lyric. There's something he says that takes a little bit of the edge off of it. I heard Neil Young sing about heard old Neil put her down. I can't remember exactly
I
the
hope
lyrics.
Neil Young remembers Southern Man.
Don't leave him around anyhow. It's a great song.
Now, when you
That
were growing up, you were a Leonard Skynyrd fan at all?
Oh yeah.
I saw them in concert like maybe 2000 and maybe, I don't know, 2006 or 2007. And I felt weird being there. I was like, man, this is somehow racist for some reason. There was nothing racist about it. I just felt a little bit uncomfortable being there. But they had there was like a great show. I guess I don't know why you had that Southern rock somehow, but I don't think you would have never known that by being there. There was just a misconception in my head.
I feel like there's some part of the lyric where he distances himself. He's like, in Birmingham, they love the governor. We all did what we could do. Watergate does not bother me. Does your conscience bother you? He was sort of like trying to say, like, you know, at the people and the government aren't necessarily the same things. Right. Like we don't like that governor. Like I don't know. But I feel like there's some way that he worded it that it wasn't as bad as it seems.
Okay. For the intellectual stuff, they had to listen to Molly Hatchet, though. Right?
Right. Yeah. If you really want to put your glasses on and your sleeve sweaters and dive into some music, literary criticism, Molly Hatchet.
Is Molly Hatchet even from the South? I don't even know where they're from.
What was their hit?
Oh God,
I never
they had a
listened to
couple.
but I know I'd know their hits. Do you remember Molly Hatchet?
I remember the name, but I don't remember the song.
Mm-hmm.
I know they had one or two big songs.
God, what is that?
Clutch! Good to see you, buddy. Pronounced Leonard Skynyrd is the big
Oh
Leonard
God,
Skynyrd
that's
album,
God. How did I not think of that
according
one?
to Clutch.
Oh
There he
man,
is, coming in clutch.
What was what was Molly Hatchet's hit, Clutch? Do you remember that?
how did
No
I?
Googling.
How did I not know pronounced Leonard Skynyrd? Gold and Platinum, I remember. I remember. I can see that album now. That light blue cover, like their hits, their greatest hits album. Why in the world are we talking about Leonard Skynyrd?
I don't know. You brought it up in your intro. That's why you did this to us. So a new feature here on season 3 of Jabber John is instead of birds, Dad is going to do a little lesson each week to teach us something. And it's mostly geared towards a younger audience, but it's all fascinating. And for us older folks, it can help us, give us some tools to teach scientific concepts to younger people. For younger people, you're probably about to learn something. Are you ready for this?
I can do this,
All right.
I think.
You wanna intro your
Well,
segment?
I think you just
Did I cover it
did.
pretty good?
Yeah,
Just make sure I didn't misspeak.
Well, no, I was saying earlier that I think we're gear this toward anybody from 4 up, and from probably at 87. I don't think you're interested, but I don't know. There's some people that stay, vital all the way. So I don't want to put a top on it.
Right. Some people stay
But
wonderful.
it's for the kids and for anybody that would like that didn't know it. There are little holes in our learning. Before I start that story, I'm going to tell a story.
Please.
This one, I wrote this one thinking about, which is something we might want to talk about later, that I was thinking subjects is the idea of delusions. And I wouldn't talk about that. But one thing, I'll introduce the story by telling this story that has nothing to do with that. And that's the way I do things. And
Surprise! We're going somewhere else now.
when I was 5 years old, I saw a cartoon. And it was a cartoon, and it was about a country way far away. It was a magical land called Italy. And there was just all kinds of crazy things, and they invented spaghetti, which, immediately when I heard that, I loved that country, Italy. And so one of the things that they had in that little cartoon was an orchard in the background, and it had little pepperonis all over it. It was a pepperoni orchard.
Wow.
And so and the only reason I can tell you that is that 26 years later, I was 31 years old, and they asked me, as a group, we were partying on a Friday night, and they asked me to order the pizza. And I ordered the pizza, and I asked everybody what they wanted, and everybody agreed that they wanted vegetarian, onions and different things, but the bottom line was we wanted vegetarian. And I took the order, and I called in the vegetarian order, and sure enough, it came, and they got it out, and they looked up at me, and they said, well, they didn't use very nice words. They said, what that word? What are pepperonis doing on this pizza? And I looked up, and I just, oh my, I can't believe they made a mistake like that. But I realized that in my heart of hearts, I had still in my head thought that pepperonis grew on trees. And I thought I was ordering a vegetarian pizza.
This isn't true.
That's the truth.
Is this a true
It's
story?
so impossibly impossible it has to be true. But I'm just here to say there's all kinds of things like that hidden away in everybody's head. We have all these misconceptions about the world that just slip in when we're little. And I figured it all out because I couldn't understand why I did it. And then I looked in the mirror and said, God damn, Steve, you think pepperonis come from plants. I've never told anybody till tonight.
Wow.
Because I'm, what are you going to do, sue me? But I'm sure everybody's had that.
Some version of it.
There's something
no
in
doubt
there.
About it.
Yeah. So this is a way of me trying to provide some understanding in what places where, because if you don't understand really how something works, you make up stuff. Mm-hmm. Like pepperonis on little trees.
You got to nip those delusions in the bud before they get you into a situation like you experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well done. Good interpretation. So today, and this is not something I would normally teach with my chemistry background, but I would teach it in earth science. And if I ever took over for Mr. Blackmer in the physics department, I would do that, but I would never do that. So, because he's the physics guy. But what I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to start now, and I've got two grandchildren that might not be watching now, but they could tune it in later.
Right.
So we'll pretend they're out here.
Okay.
You can be them. Let's give them a 5 to 10 second for the people at home to guess, because we're going to play a little quiz game.
Okay.
So, and it's real easy because it's geared to a 5-year-old, so you'll probably get most of them right. All right. I don't know which of these work, but I'm going to try to do it across here. So we're going to play a color game. And so, now Eva is going to know all of them, I think. Mm. And Zelly's probably going to know all of them. Mm-hmm. And Lulu, I'm not sure. I think she's Samuel and Elliot, I'm not. Yeah. And I think I'm going to baffle Phoebe Jo, baby. So let's start with the easy
Garage
ones.
Band and Beyond. Welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Here we go.
I like the subtle things that you can still see on the board from the past. Looks like there's a story there with that.
Actually,
face
I put that there to remember. I don't know what this is. This got wet. Okay.
Here we go.
Question number 1. What color is our state bird? Don't say it yet. I know Eva knows. I'm sure they all know. And you would say?
Red.
I would say red.
You would agree? And you're both right.
It's a cardinal, by the way, for those that didn't know. Virginia's state bird.
For all of you out-of-state people.
That's right. That Japanese young person.
So did you mean to draw a blue line?
Yes. Well, I wasn't trying to get a color code, but I just did. I don't have colors for everything. I'm just trying to find one that works.
No, that one's nice and bright.
All right, number 2. The bird that represents Baltimore, called the Baltimore Oriole. And it has 2 colors, and they are black and...
What is it?
Black and, I'm sure, I don't know if they know this or not.
Orange.
Orange.
Yeah.
Very good. You're batting 100,000.
Why did the Baltimore Oriole get affiliated to a city like that?
Well, it was Lord Baltimore.
Ah.
Baltimore is named after Lord Baltimore, and I would bet there it might be their colors. But that would just be a guess.
Gotcha. Like
So
the family crest. or
Yeah.
something.
So I don't know. All right, the next color answer. The question is, what color do you associate with sapsuckers and canaries and hay? 1, 2, 3, 4. And your guess would be?
Yellow.
Yellow is very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like how you're still tying birds into it. That's very
I
impressive.
thought I would go back to my birds. I'm not ever going to leave my birds. So there we are. So far, so good. The next question is, what do we call, well, the stuff that we have in the plants that allows them to make their own food?
Photosynthesis.
That process is called photosynthesis. And the chemical that makes that up in the plant that allows that to happen is called what?
Chlorophyll?
Chlorophyll, very good.
Whoa, way to
Now,
go.
what color is
son of a
associated
teacher.
with chlorophyll?
What color is associated with chlorophyll?
Well, I would never guess this, but I would say green.
Green, yes,
Why wouldn't you guess that?
it's right.
If I didn't know that the answer to the quiz, I would have never guessed green. Is that why plants are green?
Yes,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, a green plant is green because of the chlorophyll.
Oh, see, I never knew that. See, I am learning stuff.
And in the fall, the chlorophyll dies away and the plant turns brown and dies.
Gosh, look at you, like sitting at the foot of a Roman scholar over
Yeah.
here.
All right, the next one, staying with the birds, and I know Eva knows this one. What's the color associated with the jay and the little bird that flies around with a red breast?
Nana's bird.
Nana's bird is a
Bluebird.
bluebird. Very good. The next one is the name of another color, but I don't know if you know this one. There's a little bird that lives out at Turning Point. It's called a bunting, and a color and a bunting. And it's a beautiful color that's this color. That's a hard one. You want to try?
I would just guess indigo.
Indigo, very good.
Wow.
Very
job.
good. I like it. Indigo.
So it's an
What a great
So
indigo.
what color is indigo?
It's an indigo bunting.
It's an indigo bunting. It's a purple blue. It's got a purplish, bluish. It's a dark sheen. I'll have to get you a picture. They're beautiful. And the last one is, well, we're just going to say it's a color, but it's the name of a small flower.
I know it.
All right.
Anybody out there?
Lex, you want to try it?
Violet.
Violet is correct.
I have a friend who has a daughter named Violet.
Now, all of those answers, as we have figured out, are colors, aren't they? So this is where I'm going with it as far as the lesson goes, is that what we've got here is one of the most famous names in science. And I used to, when I've lectured on this at some points, I've started off the lecture by saying we're going to learn about a great scientist today. His name, he's written several books, and he knows all kinds of things about the visible light spectrum, and his name is Professor Roy G. Biv.
Professor Biv.
Right, Lex? And so,
Cat's out of the bag now.
so here we go. The cat is out of the bag, and there he is. Right here is Roy G. Biv.
There he is,
And
I presume.
and now we know. Is that working?
There you go.
Is that working? All right. So there's Roy G. Biv. And now many of us out there know Roy G. Biv. And what it is a trick for you to remember the visible light spectrum, which is the way light works is it's in wavelengths. And our eyes have learned to pick up different wavelengths and see them as a color. So between 460 and 540 nanometers wavelengths of energy, that looks like red. And then it switches if it gets longer. So you see different wavelengths. Now back to the birds. Remember one time I told you I was depressed because I read in a book that the blue jays aren't really blue? And what they were saying was there's no pigment. So if something's blue, it's because all the colors except blue are being absorbed and the blue is bouncing back to your eye. And so if something looks blue, it's because it's the only one that's getting away. So that whole idea of colors. So for a blue jay, that what they're saying when they say that blue jays aren't really blue is they don't have a pigment that does that like a lot of things do. What they have is the shape of the feather, and the way it's bent around is like a prism, and it captures the light. So not all the light gets out. Some of it goes into the sides, and what gets out comes out as blue.
Good grief.
And so you see it as being blue. So that's pretty interesting about colors.
But technically it has other colors in it?
Well,
That if it
the
wasn't bent?
other colors are not getting out. They're being absorbed by the material. And the other, it's the one that gets out that's not being used that you see. The ones that are
Boy, that's confusing, isn't it?
It is confusing, but it's beautiful.
So all this does for you as a student out there is if you remember the famous man Roy G. Biv, then you can always remember the order of, now this is like the rainbow. When you see a rainbow, you can see, you can't always see the indigo, of course, but you can see the spectrum of red, orange, because what happens in a prism is the light is bent, and every wavelength bends at a different angle. So instead of, when you see white, you're seeing all the colors at the same time. When you see black, you're seeing none of the colors at the same time. So when you see when you see a color, all the other colors are getting caught and not getting out. So the ones
Isn't
that
that
get,
weird that, because like if mixing paint, you would mix all the colors to get a black. But
Yeah.
it's sort of the opposite.
right, in terms of wavelengths.
You're right.
Yeah. So you end up with red, orange, yellow, Roy, green for G, and blue, indigo, and violet. And you can always remember it that way because for some reason Roy G. Biv is easy to remember.
Yeah, it really is.
But if you tried to memorize the order of the letters, it would be a difficult thing. It's a little trick to help your brain remember things. What do they call it? Mnemonic devices.
Right.
Which is a word that you can spell but you can't say. I hate words
Now,
like
do you know when Roy G. Biv came around? Is that like hundreds of years old, or is that a recent thing?
I have no idea. I bet it's been around a long time. long as long as Roy Rogers has been around.
It's weird how the mixing of paints conflicts with a lot of wavelength theory or whatever. Like green is yellow and blue in paint. You mix those two colors together. Is that right?
Well,
I know in paint, there's a lot of like mixing of colors.
Green is in the middle of yellow and blue on this.
Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. When you get purple, that's red and blue,
Right.
or is purple,
Interesting.
and so all the colors are mixed. Yeah, they can be mixed, but these are the pure colors. But I probably had other things I wanted to say, but that's probably the lesson.
That's
beautiful.
good.
Is that a
Roy
good place
G.
to-
Biv.
Roy
Any
G. Biv.
questions,
Tons of questions.
comments?
Are there any other famous scientific things like that isn't there one for the first presidents of the United States? Like,
Colors?
No, isn't there like a name for the first 20 presidents or something?
I'm sure there is. There's one for the what was I trying to remember? The one for the planets. There's a statement there, something like chasing a dog or something.
Oh, right.
I can't remember what
Right.
that was, but that was a one to remember the order of the planets.
Right. I wonder what that was.
Now, I always remember that because I always remember Mercury's the hot planet because it's the closest. And then I remember that Venus is between, and the Earth is the third rock from the sun.
Right.
Remember that show? Mm-hmm. That was a funny show.
That was a funny show.
And so Venus must be 2. And then there's Mars, which is the next planet out. So I know my neighbors, Venus and Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember that the asteroid belt is between Mars and Jupiter. And so I got to Jupiter. And then I remember the sun, S-U-N. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's a good
And
trick.
then, of course,
Oh,
Pluto.
wow.
Now, did you see my post on Facebook yesterday?
About how you had to give up teaching astronomy because you couldn't say Uranus with a straight face.
Yeah. I was going to go back and say that that's not really true. I kept teaching astronomy. I just taught that there were 8 planets.
Right.
Well, didn't they take one of them away as a
Pluto?
planet?
Yeah, they got Pluto. I can't believe they took Pluto.
What's the story of that?
Well, they
just
found
decided-
out it was actually a little cartoon dog. And they couldn't name it. I don't remember anything except that was the main
Goofy
thing.
sued.
Walt Disney sued him.
You know, I remember having this realization that sort of blew my mind when I got into photo editing on the computer with Lightroom and Photoshop and stuff like that. And the parallels between photo editing and music editing were startling. I was like, holy moly, this is the exact same thing. But then I realized that they're both wavelengths. So it makes sense that they would have all these parallels in common when you get behind the scenes to editing them. Sound has low, mids, and highs, and photos have 3 categories as well. And when you see them depicted, you could almost confuse the 2 apps. You're like,
Wow.
whether you're editing light or sound,
That's
very
very-
similar parallels.
Isn't that interesting? I like that.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Startling. You're just like, oh, it's all the same.
Yeah.
You want a balance of all
It's like
3.
seeing it from a different angle. It's what we were doing here with the colors, associating the colors with wavelengths. It's easy to go through your whole life and not do that,
Right.
which is kind of like thinking pepperonis grow on trees.
I wonder if anybody's
It's still mind-boggling. The way any of it works is will be endlessly mystifying to me. I just don't understand it.
I wonder if anybody ever tried to write music with just colors, like you say, how they sort of correspond. Like if you understand the wavelengths of music and color, if you could, people that an orchestra that understood it, you could just have like the colors and they would play along to that.
There are people with like a gift in that regard, that they see sounds, they see music.
Oh wow!
They have colors associated with the. But if it's all wavelengths.
Oh yeah, that's in that book. That book you let me borrow. They have some people that are like that. They hear stuff and they see these certain colors.
What's his name? I'm trying to think of that writer.
Oh gosh, now I can't remember.
He's a wonderful writer. Ooh.
Oh, the Musicophilia or something like that?
Yeah. I can't think of his name either.
Well, he's my favorite writer, nonfiction writer, and I can't think of his name. It'll come along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think that's the end of the lesson.
Ding, ding. we need some like intro, outro music credits or whatever for the little Schoolhouse Rock vibes, little animated guy or something.
Little Mr. Rogers.
Roy G. Biv sitting on a log.
Any questions?
Oh,
Kethra says Oliver Sacks.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Oh, Joe and Elliot say hi. Hi.
Hi, Elliot.
Hey, Elliot. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, Stephen Fisher in the house.
Hey,
We have a good crew here. What do y'all want us to talk about?
And remember, it's Roy G. Biv, but it's pronounced Leonard Skynyrd.
Stephen says they have taken out indigo in our curriculum.
What?
As well as Pluto.
Roy G. Biv. Wait a minute, they taking out indigo as a color?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Well, I'd read in some
Because it's too purple or too
They
violet?
said people can't really detect it between the red, the blue and the violet. They really can't pick it up as a unique color. It's just a fade issue.
Any idea like the blue and yellow make green? Is there a wavelength correlation there? Like,
I don't know. I'd have to explore that a little bit to make any comment on that. But I don't understand. Yeah, I don't.
must be
I'm
some
not sure.
simpatico kind of things there.
Yeah, somebody's gonna. I have to get Mr. Blackmer to explain it to us.
Because you never say green and anything make anything necessarily. Like green is blue and yellow in a way, whereas green and yellow aren't on there.
They're not on there.
Like on the Roy G. bit, like it's not like you take any two and mix them. There's something special going on there. Definitely,
you
like
can mix green and yellow.
To get what though? Not another color on the spectrum.
Not another color on the spectrum, but it'd be another.
Lemonade.
Puke.
Yeah, it'd be a shade of green or.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? Like green and blue are both primary, or yellow and blue are both primary. Mix them together, they get another primary that's on the spectrum.
Okay.
So there's something unique about those wavelengths that they can combine to form another primary color. And
yeah, the whole idea of primary colors is
different,
I think, yeah.
But red and blue make purple, and that's on there. Well, violet.
But, the other thing that's interesting about that, if you wanted to go into it further, is the whole idea that once you know the visible light spectrum, then you've got ultraviolet and infrared.
Ultraviolet.
But that there's a lot of plants, a lot of birds, and a lot of insects that detect ultraviolet. And that's what the plants are, the colors are. In other words, a cardinal might not look red to another cardinal. Every organism's eyes are not always exactly the same.
That's too crazy to think about.
Pick up different things.
Hey, Joe, do you remember back when you were a little kid, one of the first philosophical conversations I ever had with my younger brother was I asked him, I was like, well, sure, you call that blue and I call that blue, but how do we know we both see the same thing? You might have just always been, like you just say, this is blue, and you were always taught this is blue, so you called it blue. And I always saw this and called it blue. So we both call the same thing blue, but then we don't necessarily know that blue looks the same to you as it does to me. So I was like, how do you know we see the same color, even though we call it the same? And at first he was just like looking at me like I was crazy. But then like a year later, he was like, man,
are crazy.
It haunted him. It came back up at some point in his life. It's like, oh, I get what he's saying. How do we know?
The truth is we don't know. Oh, the truth is we don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of, the first example would say, if someone's colorblind, they're not picking up certain wavelengths.
Right.
So they're not seeing the same. Well, if they're not seeing the same, why do you think that the rest of us are seeing exactly the same?
Right.
So it's
probably not.
Probably
well, have you
not.
seen those things on the internet where it'll be like a black and gold dress? Some people look at it and see black and white, and some obviously it's black and gold, and some people it's just like,
Yeah, that was a whole viral sensation. Like, how do you see how to describe this dress? And everybody had a different description. There's something about the bend of it or something. Like maybe like the blue jay isn't really blue. It's the shape of it. But it's interesting stuff. I had another thing, but now I forgot what it was.
So I don't understand. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand how to put it so my little brain can understand. So, like red, like let's say we all agree it's like a fire truck is red, but that's just because our eyes see that, or it's not really red at all. It's not really red.
The eyes your eye is the organ that is trained to determine that visible light spectrum, and it can pick up different wavelengths as specific colors, and that's what you're seeing when you see colors. Your actually eyes are able to determine the different wavelengths.
But so is it actually the same color we're seeing, or they don't know? Like if we see it bright red, is it really bright red, or it's just that's what our brains?
I think everybody's different.
Oh my God!
Your perception's different.
I wish I was high right now.
Yeah.
It's really confusing, isn't it? The more you think about it, the more strange it all is. Just how light works.
Everybody's pretty much built the same way, and it's not like they're all going to be completely different. But in other words, the shade of it and I don't know, just your concept of it could be completely different, and could be affected by other things in your life that. I don't know, the emotional things.
Yeah, right. Gut bacteria.
Kids, it's time to go to bed. We're getting into some serious stuff.
And like what you're demonstrating there is what you call the visible spectrum. Is that what you called it? Which implies there's the invisible spectrum. Like we are measuring things only by the limits of our tools, which is our eyes. So we like to think like, oh, that's all the colors. Whereas if we had better eyes, we might live in an even more wondrous world.
Isn't there a limit to the number of colors that we can see?
Yeah.
There's a number. It's like in the millions, I think. But
oh, like an actual data point, like.
I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I would think.
Again, same with sound. There's the range that we can, like dog whistles. We can't hear a dog whistle, but apparently that's the idea, is that a dog has a bigger range of hearing, so the dog can hear it, but we can't. So it's all the limits of our tools.
Well, I think the color thing is back to Roy G. Biv too. Really, only you give belief in vision. Isn't that what Roy G. Biv stands for?
Whether it's all faith based.
This is all the colors I can see. Well, that's because it's really only I give belief in my vision. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, there's something there. Ooh.
All right, so to smooth into that, how much do you think smell affects taste? 100%? More than 100%?
So much.
Well, I think they're just tied into the same place. They all go to the same computer and they're processed together.
Because I've read somewhere that the worst sense to lose is like your smell. Like then you can't taste food or, everything just changes.
Such an easy one to take for granted,
Yeah.
but a lot of people during COVID lost their sense of smell. And you saw a lot of testimonials that it's way worse than you would have thought to lose
Oh,
that.
I would think that people that enjoy their food, it would be a horrible thing to.
Now, is that just a memory thing? So you smell pizza and you have a memory of pizza, or do you think it really affects?
I feel like it
your
affects the taste.
No, I think it affects your interpretation of that whole area. It's just shut down. That whole area is just not responding.
Which brings us, of course, to smell-o-vision. You ever hear of that?
I heard of it.
Way back in the day, they were trying to think of anything to make the movie-going experience a richer, more enthralling experience. So at one point, they introduced smell-o-vision, where they would inject smells to accompany what was going on in the movie into the theater to give you the full experience. I'd love to go to one of those.
I think I told you I went to that polyester, the John Waters polyester, and they gave you the scratch and sniff.
Oh,
And they show a scene. It was like shit and all this weird stuff.
it was like in the brochure, like
Yeah, they gave you. It was like a long card, and it had like a scratch and sniff, and some gross scene would come up, you'd smell it, like oh.
let's see your candy.
Oh yes, people.
Which brings us to today's novelty that Kyle discovered at a roadside attraction stand somewhere out there.
It's today's novelty, but tomorrow's hit. It's fried chicken candy.
Fried chicken candy.
And Lex will back me up. It actually tastes like fried chicken, but not in a bad. It's not the bad. Not that chicken tastes bad, but it actually is enjoyable chicken flavored candy, right?
It's upsetting though, right? Because
It's a little weird. I didn't finish it.
oh, you spit it
I
out?
got rid of it early.
You didn't eat the bone.
Yeah.
No, it's not focusing.
If you see this, kids, buy it. It's very good.
Yeah, it's not focusing.
And you can put love letters in the tin after you finished with it. Now, I wonder how much that is like smell. Because remember you said how it smelled like fried chicken.
It did, right.
I wonder how much that influences us to think it tastes
I'd
like
say
chicken.
a whole lot.
Hey, I got it to focus.
Now, was yours original recipe or crispy?
I think it was crispy. Crispy, yeah.
I love tins.
Oh, I do too.
There's just something so great about them.
My house has so many of them, they probably think I'm a
Makes me
crazy
think that you
person.
can get tins made pretty easily because it's not like the fried chicken candy people are rolling. Are they? Or maybe they're so rich they can make stuff like that.
Fried chicken candy.
That really reminds me of like Jelly Belly jelly beans. Always had those upsetting flavors. You ever eat the Jelly Bellies?
yeah.
They got like. I like to eat them by the handful, but you get like a buttered popcorn in there, ruins the whole thing.
Oh, my
It's
goodness.
like,
Well, didn't they for a while make bad flavors just to put in there?
yeah, that became like
Yeah.
a marketing gimmick or whatever. Nasty flavors.
Sold it as a game.
Pots and pans. What was the game? Jelly Belly sold a game?
There was some way to randomly select which one you were going to have to do, I think.
Ah.
But, yeah, I can't remember the exact process, but you just had to do the one that it said, and there were good tasting ones and bad tasting ones, and they would look alike. So,
Ah.
Oh,
you could
wow.
think, oh, this could be lime or bile.
Right. Oh,
And,
gosh.
I can't tell which one is it.
Pots and pans. Are dogs just naturally anti-war? What do you think is the thing is with dogs when they hear loud bang and start running. Are dogs just naturally anti-war? Is it a DNA problem? Come on now, you are on something with smell-o-vision.
This is the nicest way we've ever been told to change our subjects and move on to something else.
Well, I mean, it seems like it would be a natural reaction to run from loud explosion sounds or whatever.
Any loud sound that they didn't understand.
Right.
But also, dogs being anti-war. I just got on Sunday, like baseball cards, but they're dog cards for dogs that are in war, like they were in Iraq, bomb sniffers and stuff. So it's a picture of a dog with the soldier they were teamed up with.
Playing cards?
Well, it was like baseball cards.
Yeah, collect all of them.
Yeah, then they had a picture of the dog on the front, what they did, bomb sniffer or landmine sniffer, and then had on the back had a picture of them with their soldier and the statistics, where they were born, what their name was, and all that stuff. So I guess you can train a dog to. I guess I was looking for mines.
I don't know where you go to find this shit. It's pretty amazing the stuff you come up with.
The same place I got the chicken candy.
It's remarkable.
It is remarkable. It's hard for me to think of dogs as anti-war. Go ahead.
Me too.
I got the dog cards actually the same place I got my find of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Lex is on this playing bass, and our lovely Mr. Moore wrote one of the songs, or they've inspired one of the songs.
That's a cool story. So you're just rummaging through CDs, you see one, you like the album art, you're like, oh, I think I'll get this.
Well,
You get home, you're like, oh my goodness, Lex is on this. Then you keep going.
well, it's funny.
It must have been like, wait, what?
Then you
Am I
keep-
seeing that right?
Well, the funny thing is, when I was filming it, I zoomed in on your name. Then I looked at it. I said, "Damn, Corey did the cover for it. She's the one that got me to buy it. I should be giving her credit for it."
And then he sees the CD, and in there is like one of these songs based on a poem by Steve Moore.
When I bought it, I had no idea. I was just sucking on some chicken candy and
Happy as a bird. Happy as a blue jay. My goodness.
Well, wouldn't that be weird if if you were colorblind and you saw a cardinal? What do you just see? Everything's grayish or brownish, or what? Do you have any
Depends
idea?
on what you're colorblind about. Everybody that's colorblind sees a different color too, probably.
God, that'd be horrible too. Well, I see on YouTube they give these kids these glasses, and what is that? Just prism glasses or something that makes them see the colors better?
I don't know.
It's not necessarily horror. I mean, I understand horrible, but then I was thinking, yeah, but like extraterrestrials that can see twice the spectrum we can
Right.
would consider us all colorblind.
Right.
You just sort of operate within your limits and would never know otherwise if
Right.
people didn't tell you.
On the other hand, I have to say, we've all looked up and beheld one of those beautiful things as a rainbow. And so, I do feel lucky that we have that spectrum. Or maybe it's not luck. Maybe we defined it that way
Right.
when we were making up our brain.
Now, is a rainbow?
Might as well make it pretty.
Right.
Is a rainbow? Is that really? Are there more layers that we just can't detect, or is it really just those 7? Or there's like 100 bands that we can't see some of them,
Millions of bands.
and we just see the 7.
Yeah, we just see the full pattern.
Wow.
And a lot of things we decide, like music is riddled with that. Like you look at the piano, there's 12 notes in the Western music scale.
Okay.
But you go to another country, they might have 15 notes
Right.
in their scale because they put, like these 2 notes are side by side. So those are 2 notes on the Western scale, but there's, in a way, infinite notes between those 2. If I bend the string, there's from here to here. Hear all those notes in between? Like that's a new note, not in our scale. We don't play that note unless you got a string you can bend. But other cultures define their scales differently.
Man,
And it's pretty fascinating how we sort of decided, like, we're going to have 12 notes in our scale. And there's reasons why, and it makes sense. But like I say, other cultures have more notes.
Yeah, I read some biographies of like serious musicians that go study like other countries, and they just how their mind is just expanded musically wise by seeing what other options that they never knew existed.
100%. So there's probably, there's gradations in between all those primary colors.
Sure.
That could be
colors in their own world.
right, exactly.
That is weird that we don't even know if all of us are looking at like your shirt and seeing the same thing or not.
No, we don't know that.
No idea.
No. We don't know when people look at Donald Trump if they see the same thing. I think they don't.
No. I hope I don't see the same thing they do.
John Dotson, welcome to the show. When you play
Hey,
a
John.
string, overtones are produced. You're actually hearing multiple notes.
Man.
I wonder how that applies to color. I love how we have spent the last 20 minutes talking about stuff we have no clue about. We have nothing to provide. We're just sitting here like asking questions.
Swaby, help us out. Send in an answer, please. Has he checked in tonight?
I haven't seen him. Sadler. Blew my mind that turning was just a choice like everything else. Wait, what's the setup for that? On the turning away. Joe really wants you to eat a fried chicken piece of candy.
It's actually good.
You're into it
I'm
now.
enjoying this. It is so
All
good.
right, I'm going to try.
You're going to get hooked on them. Oh, here we go. Hey, Firefly, welcome to the show. Tuning.
No, if you can, don't smell it and see if it still tastes like chicken. I want to see.
I'm not even going to be able to get it open.
Let's see. I'll get to smell it.
Yeah,
Oh, so big news here on the home front. We went to the gym yesterday. So
what happened?
just look out. Just look out, world. We're hitting the Y.
What happened when that?
Nathan's ripped.
I gained weight, but now I can blame it on muscle mass.
Exactly.
I'm just beefing up. But it was fun. We did the.
What did you do?
He's beefing up, but he's still not very strong.
What do you call that thing?
Because he can't open a candy wrapper.
Yeah. Oh.
He can break.
Oh goodness.
Do you smell it?
Well, I'm not even sure I want to eat that.
Do you
now.
smell it?
Stuck it up your nose.
I didn't stick it up it didn't touch me.
Does it smell like chicken, you think?
It I don't know, it's just gross.
No, it tastes good.
I didn't get much smell.
You taste chicken?
Not yet.
No?
It's like chicken with cranberry sauce or something. Like if Thanksgiving was done with chicken instead of turkey.
I'm not getting the fried chicken message at all.
Man.
What's it taste like?
Well, it doesn't taste bad. It's got a good. It's complimentary.
So I wonder if tastes are wavelengths in any way.
Taste. Wavelengths, I would think, yeah. I mean, the communication's all wavelengths, when you think about it.
Electrical impulses.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Doesn't the tongue have like I'm not, is millions right? Taste buds? How many taste buds are on your tongue?
Not millions, but there's a bunch. I don't know. But I'm not getting.
People, you
Fried
need to
chicken.
help us out. Tonight we're just asking questions. We don't have anything. We don't know anything. We have no clue. What
We're just like stoners on a log. Going, dude.
I've got a good idea, man.
Got
Dude.
some candy.
How many taste
try
buds? How many
this.
taste
I
buds are on
brought
your tongue?
candy.
I've got some cards with dogs on them. You wouldn't believe it.
Can you see all the colors?
Yeah, we are just 3 stone frogs sitting on a log. All of them fell in.
Somebody flipped that Leonard Skynyrd album over. Come on, let's go.
Right, we're really relying on the chat here to send us down the road that'll get us home.
Somebody has to Google like Molly Hatchett's big album too.
John Dotson's in here talking about the quote that ended up hanging from the last show where you said stories are songs for people who can't sing. That Steve Moore quote stuck with me this week and made me laugh a few times.
Oh,
That reminds me, I totally forgot about this. The reason I went CD shopping, God, how did I forget about this? It was because of you two. The reason I went CD shopping, I wanted to find some John Prine CDs. And I spent like 3 hours in there digging through all those boxes, not a single John Prine album. I guess nobody turns them in, they keep them.
yeah.
Right. That makes
It's a
sense.
keeper these days.
CDs.
Because they're so cheap now.
I bet they are.
But there's ours was sitting there. And
That's right.
According to John Dotson, we have 10,000 taste buds.
Oh, wow.
That sounds about right.
It's interesting how, like, I guess biologically we developed them mostly to be able to detect danger. Like, that's spoiled or that's rotten, that's bad for, we reject it. But then the plus side of that survival manifestation is it makes things so delightful and enjoyable. The good side of that, an orange tastes like an orange, but what I'm saying is I doubt the biological impetus for the manifestation of taste buds was for our pleasure, but more as a protection against things that would hurt us,
True.
with the side benefit of so much pleasure as a result.
Yeah,
Is that a worthy way of thinking about it?
I think so. But yeah, early on, what we do as human beings is we take a characteristic and then we work on it, and we change it over a period of time by what we're getting out of it. So, using taste, for instance, in cooking, to make sure it's healthy, as you say, but also we start playing a game and making it taste good, and then we start developing that skill over a period of millennia.
Do you think that has an evolution effect on the taste buds themselves over thousands of years?
I don't know about the taste buds themselves. I think our appreciation, how our mind interprets the taste buds, is what changes.
Now, do you think like a person raised, here in Virginia would have their taste buds would be different from like somebody raised in China or Iran or somewhere in Africa? You think the food you eat, the things you do?
Well, yeah, you can only learn what you've been taught. So when you learn a certain cuisine, that's the one you grew up with. And that's why people like to explore different ones, because it's unique and it's different. But yeah, but also people like home cooking, because that's what they are used to and what they grew up remembering as a favorite thing, because it was safe. And they were home.
Comfort food.
God, isn't that weird? I have thought about it before, but you just said it, how when you were growing up, like hopefully whoever cooked was a good cook, like those are like the best foods, you can never you know, your mom's macaroni and cheese or whatever. Like, man, there'd never be a better macaroni and cheese than that, you know.
But that connection to your
Yeah,
childhood and your
yeah.
safety and security is so enmeshed with the flavor of it, the smell of it. Comfort food.
Comfort food. That's
God, so what if you grew up there with like a parent that couldn't cook at all? They were just like nasty, like, oh.
and I think that happens an awful lot. Probably even more today, because we depend on things being prepared for us a lot more than we. You know, we don't have the people getting in there and starting from scratch like we used to.
Right.
You know, one thing I'm seeing on TV is more and more of these services that are selling you the meal. You know, it's like a
I thought about that for you, because you were talking about your diet or whatever. And
Yeah, and you know, of course, that's what we did a few years ago when we got into frozen foods.
TV dinner.
TV dinners was exactly what we were doing then. And then you look back on those, and they were horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
But it was something exciting about. I remember being excited. My mom would be like, you know, oh God, I got home late. We're just gonna make a couple of TV dinners. Woo!
Yes.
You couldn't be more excited. Turn the wrestling on. Let's get some TV dinners. Whole families together. What's gonna
Little
be?
fold-out TV trays. There's no.
Everybody, put your PJs on. We're getting TV dinners tonight. Take the phone off the hook. Nobody can disturb us. I was asking my mom about how we were talking about, you know, like, hang up, I've got the phone. You know, we were talking about that. I said, do you ever remember us listening on the phone? She goes, oh, I have a lot of memories of yelling, hang up, I've got it.
Oh, I like that idea. She says, Firefly says, yay for comfort food. I think I have comfort music as well.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Oh, there's a new name. I don't even know how to... Nader. What is your favorite song you have heard? Oh, that's impossible.
What's
Man.
your favorite song you've never heard?
What's your favorite song you never heard?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Some off a Skynyrd album, probably.
I don't think I could pick a favorite song.
Nah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it changes every day for me.
Amazing Grace.
That's a hell of a song. You know, that was written by a reformed slave trader who realized the horror of his life and had a whole coming to Jesus moment, I guess, and ended up penning Amazing Grace. Makes it even
Well,
more.
I'm going to give a final report. I like this candy, and it
Really?
did not taste anything like fried chicken. to
Oh,
me.
wow.
Interesting.
I didn't get one smell of fried chicken.
Did
but
you
it-
smell something, but it didn't smell like fried chicken, or did you?
It didn't smell much of anything. To tell you the
What
truth.
did
Maybe
you
you're a little congested.
Well,
in
I'm
that
not.
smell,
I
not
don't feel
smelling
like.
it.
I don't think I've ever had a great smeller. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure I'm as good at that as I am at something.
I had a little moment the other night where we had fish for dinner, and then later I was trying to eat something sweet like blueberries or something, and I went to eat the blueberries, and there was still salmon smell on my fingers,
Right.
and they were ruining it. Like I couldn't do the blueberries
Right.
so I had to like get up, go wash my. I got up, went and washed my hands thoroughly, came back in, grabbed another blueberry, and it was still there.
Oh, my God.
So I just gave up.
You need to put your hands over the bidet. I don't care.
That's the move, huh?
It's fun. Has there ever been a food that you just told yourself, this might be from a kid too, like you don't like this food, then you're an adult and you taste it and you're like, oh my God, how did I not eat that for all these years?
Brussels
Well,
sprouts are
taste change.
delicious.
Oh my God.
Your taste, what was it?
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
love
people-
those now.
That's funny. That's one of the ones that I had never eaten Brussels sprouts until I was like probably in my mid-50s. and I tasted some. I was like, oh my God, these are so
What have
good.
I been missing out on my whole life?
But your tastes do change too.
Is that because when you're younger you have fewer taste buds or something, or do they
Yeah,
actually?
I think they just come and go. I think, but also the taste and the smell both are associated. One of the things that they work is in the brain, both of those meet up together right near the memory. So in a part of your brain where you keep a lot of your memories. So that's why you have when you smell a certain donut, you think of the store downtown where you bought those donuts. And, you associate a memory with a smell or with a taste.
Right.
So that all that smell and taste and memory are all in the same part of the brain.
And you can have a memory that will invoke that smell again.
Yeah.
Or the smell can invoke the memory
exactly,
either way.
Exactly.
Heather was telling me a story on the way back from the Y last night about how certain music takes her right back to L.A. But the first thing she started talking about was the smells, like the sea air and stuff like that. Like
I thought you were going to say whenever y'all make love, she smells salmon.
Nope.
Salmon
I'm sorry.
Salmon mixed with blueberries.
Lex is over there trying to decide which sound effect. He's like, oh, any of these could work. Sad trombone.
One of the things people, everybody has a right to do what they want, but I can't stand when somebody says, I don't eat seafood. I don't eat they've just made a decision, that that's something they don't want to try. I'm like, oh my God, just taste it. I give myself credit. If somebody just says, taste something I don't want to, I'll just taste it because you never know. Mm-hmm. But I have plenty of friends that are like, nope, I don't eat seafood. I don't eat, this or this. I was visiting some friends last week, and the girl, when she was like 5, got sick from an egg and hasn't had an egg in 50 years. I was
wow.
Why are you crazy? Get over that memory,
Isn't that funny? That's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
We all have foods we can think of that we don't have a good reason for not liking, but we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to an emotional experience.
I'm like you though. I'll keep trying.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's something I know I don't like, if you were there saying, no, you got to try this, I would do it.
Because liver was something, I never wanted to eat liver. I was like, nah, I could never eat liver, just forget that.
Liver and onions.
And I had a friend that she was from the Philippines, and she had like this it was some big event, some age-related thing, and we went to the big party, like 100 people there. And they just had big tins of these, the people had brought food, and I was eating something like, man, what is this stuff? She goes, that's liver. I was like, oh! But then I was like, God, I've been eating like 30 of them already. They were so good,
Yeah, there's a lot of good examples of that, of stuff you especially in other cuisines where it's a word you don't recognize. Right. Like when I lived in New Mexico, you'd be like, after you eat it, and you're like, that was the best stuff I've ever had. I was like, oh, that's like cheeks. There's cheeks. Barbacoa. I was like, oh, I thought it was barbacoa. Yeah, that's cheeks.
Wow.
There's cheeks, tongues, all this stuff you wouldn't necessarily try if it was in English, and you try it, and it's delicious. But it wouldn't have been if you'd read it in English.
You would have passed on that.
True.
Give me the cheek sandwich.
Michael, welcome to the show. I was that way with sushi.
Oh,
sushi was the one I thought of, too.
Yeah.
Never wanted to try raw fish as a kid. Seemed too strange. Tried it about 15 years ago, and it's my favorite food. I no longer eat cooked fish, only raw for me. Well, enjoy it while you still can. The reason I say that is because we just recently watched the documentary on Netflix about our food. Woo! Don't eat that. Don't watch that with a TV dinner. you want to go ahead and already have eaten when you watch this documentary. I forget what it was called. Have you seen that? You might not have watched it. It was like a 3 or 4 part thing about our food supply.
Yeah, why would you watch that?
Well,
There's nothing you get
I
out of
really
that.
didn't like it, but I was glad I watched it when it was done.
Yeah, more stuff you
learned
can't
a
eat.
lot.
Yeah.
You know what it made me think of though is like they did a whole thing on farmed fish and how gross it actually is, and I never really thought about that, but it did make me realize how fishing locally here, like some of those trout we've gotten a couple of times, I'm like, what's wrong with this trout? But then I remembered that most of the trout that are caught in our streams anymore are farm raised, put in the river, and then people go. That's so surreal to me to even think about it. Because when you were a kid, you were catching trout that were.
No, I wasn't.
They were farmed back then too.
Yeah, they were stocking them back then.
Oh, really? I was thinking that
yeah.
was sort of a modern incarnation.
Well, I mean, they've
been stocking your whole life.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
When Dad would take me fishing to catch our limited trout, they were always stocked trout.
Oh.
Yeah. And you can tell a stocked trout got that real white meat, and it's just pretty bland. A trout that's been in the river a year or two will start getting pinker and pinker. If you catch a little native trout up in the mountains, that's just the most amazing taste in the world.
Right.
But it's a pink. It's just really pink. It's delicious. But trout out of the farm are just. But there's no reason you should think they're not healthy or bad.
Well,
they're just not.
They're doing them in such numbers now in the way
Well, you're talking about a different thing when you're talking about a trout farm in Swannanoa or wherever it is. But at Montebello, compared to what you're talking about deep ocean.
Right, the
where they're-
salmon hat fisheries, it's
Yeah.
such an operation.
Yeah. I was similar.
Except they are enclosed
Yeah.
and they are fed antibiotics and stuff like that to sort of ward
Exactly.
off the diseases.
Oh yeah, the chemicals are very important. I was last night. I decided to go surf and turf. I just wanted to get fancy every once in a while. So I had my Vienna sausage.
And a can of sardines.
No, I went high dollar. I had smoked oysters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not bragging, but I did study the container, because it was a pretty Reese's smoked oysters.
These are good.
They're just stepping up a notch. But then I read the back. Well, there was print that you couldn't read. So I got this magnifying glass out and read it, and it said it may have lead and iron and might kill you.
Kill you. Tiny print.
Yeah, it was
Tiny.
real print.
Minuscule.
But then it also said it was sold out of a place in New Jersey, but it's a product of China.
Oh, wow.
So my oysters were farm grown in China, and they might have lead and mercury in them. And I'm supposed to enjoy that now.
Right,
that
right.
I've read that on the
It's
container.
too much information.
I should not have read the container.
That'll teach you to.
So boys and girls, do not read the ingredients.
Don't read the packaging.
Don't read the packaging.
Yeah.
Especially that small print.
I just love the idea of surf and turf, a can of Vienna sausages and some smoked oysters. 2 tins. That's a hobo surf and turf right there.
That's the hunter's buffet.
That's damn
Did
Charles.
you eat it on club crackers?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like damn Charles Bukowski right there.
Right. Yeah, Josh says stocked fish are different from farm fish. Michael says, best trout I had was caught in Desolation Wilderness, freshwater stream trout. Those weren't farm raised. Yep. There's definitely a
native trout's a whole different ballgame.
whole different ball. It's like a delicacy at this point.
Oh,
I
definitely.
wonder where you get that.
What?
Like where if I wanted to eat
go
a
up in the
real
mountains.
trout right now, yeah, I'd have to go to the mountains and catch it.
Yeah.
Not on the not in the supermarket.
No. Some place like Blue Point, where do you think they get their fish from?
They definitely
It
Locally?
comes in, well, it's seafood. It comes from the Chesapeake Bay.
Chesapeake Bay. They got real direct sources, I think.
Yeah,
Comes
they
in every
get
day.
it pretty fresh.
Pretty fresh.
Yeah.
John says, Nathan, do you know Jason Hallicher? He and I grew up on the same street in Pennsylvania, but he lives in Stanton now. Wow. And he's the fisheries biologist for the Department of Wildlife.
Wow.
How about that? Wonder if his ears are burning. I don't know him.
Might have a good first guess.
Right. We should bring him in here. We're thinking about having guests for season 4.
He can make sushi for us. Yes, I can't wait.
He checks all the fish populations in your rivers. Gosh, I wonder what he's finding out.
Demery used to work for the Fish and Game. He would be the guy with the big truck to dump all the fish in there.
Well, folks, we did it again. I want to thank you all out there for tuning in, joining us, especially today as we
had a million questions.
it's just all questions, no answers. Except for you know what their lesson plan is going to be next week, or you tune in next week
From
for
Free as a
more.
Bird.
Some more about Molly Hatchet.
No, yeah, we never found out Molly Hatchet's
We don't know a single Molly Hatchet's album.
I'll do the song I was recording last night. I pulled in to the harbor so fast I ran aground. Now thanks to the rising flood waters, I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. Once you've gone away for a long time, time speeds up when you're slowing down. It's not true what they say, but they ain't lying. I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. It's a hard pill to swallow, with nothing to wash it down. Nothing, no one to follow. I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. Everybody, I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. Till next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to put on the disco lights for the song. Let's go back.
Eat more sushi.
Eat more sushi while you still can.
Sushi's a big one. I bet you a lot of people would pick that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first time I had sushi, it was forced on me. The guy was so frustrated. actually counterintuitive to what I was just saying before. I was like, no, and he's like, he like shoves it like. He like basically shoved it into my mouth.
Please no, give me cheeks. That's what I prefer.
I remember it was in New Orleans. I was on the road with a slip, and Brad was super apologetic about that exchange. He saw that happen.